What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for week 37 Premier League predictions. If you enjoy these videos, please do drop a like and subscribe to join us on the road to 40,000. Flashing up on the screen all the people that are supporting me over on the Patreon. I really do appreciate all the support over there. If you want access to the exclusive members tips and accumulators, and you want a shout out in every single video, then be sure to click that top link in the description. When the club football season ends, there are still international Nations League fixtures. I doubt I'll be making videos on those, but I will be posting about them over on Patreon. Here's the winning accumulators we've had since the last episode hit 350 for the season, and also tonight, at the time of posting this, I've posted my final 2 correct scores to make it up to 100 posted. Even if they don't come in, 22% hit rate on correct scores is absolutely insane, and here they all are. So if you want to shout out in the videos and all the other perks that come with it, you can join the Patreon. Also, shout out to the guy that said that predicting Liverpool to draw 2-2 with Arsenal was Arsenal bias, because that was our perfect score prediction of the video last week. But I think we can do better this week. Kicking it off, we have Aston Villa up against Tottenham. Aston Villa pushing as high as they can at the league for European places. On paper, got a bit of a tricky run-in playing Tottenham and Manchester United in the last couple of games, but actually it just so happens that works out because both the teams are having a terrible season and are playing in the Europa League next week. For Tottenham, it will be mission don't get injured. I do just think they're going to be able to find a goal, and that's really all I think. And obviously Tottenham last time out beat Aston Villa 4-1. So I think it would be poetic justice if Aston Villa could do the same for Spurs. So I'm going to say that Aston Villa win 4-1, and the tip is Aston Villa and both teams to score at 2.4. You could be conservative and go for over 2.5 goals at about 1.57. I really like that too. You could go Aston Villa -1 handicap for probably about 1.9. I think there's a lot of ways to play this game as long as you back goals and you back Aston Villa. That's really what I'm going for. Now, after this, it is Chelsea up against Manchester United. Chelsea also pushing for Champions League football. A little bit of a blip in the road after losing out to Newcastle 2-0. I do think they're going to beat Man United here, and I do think it's going to be quite comfortable. Again, Man United, it's mission don't get injured. We already saw Chelsea beat Liverpool 3-1 when Liverpool didn't have anything to play for. Man United have nothing to play for here. Like, genuinely, they can't get relegated, and who cares if they finish low in the league? They need to prepare for the Europa League final. So I think Chelsea batter them here. I'll keep it conservative and say Chelsea to win 3-0. But the tip is going to be Chelsea -1 handicap at 1.9. This could easily be a little 2-0. Could be a 3-1. But I don't think Man United actually get close to Chelsea. A couple of times in Man United's road to the Europa League final, I've backed Man United +2 handicap and both teams to score, in the basically thinking that they can get a goal and that it'll be close, but that was to the likes of lesser teams. We correctly tipped Man United +2 and both teams to score when they were underdogs against Bournemouth and against Brentford at above evens. I don't think it'll happen here. I don't think Man United can get within a goal of Chelsea or really even score a goal. So I'm going Chelsea to win this one 3-0. After this, Everton up against Southampton, the final game for the men's team at least at Goodison Park. I don't think Southampton spoil the party here, albeit Everton were the team that handed Southampton 3 points at the start of the season, or it was like October, November, I think, when they really needed them. And those 3 points have made it so they don't equal the record. Everton, I feel like they should have won that game, honestly. And if they did, Southampton would be sat on 9 points right now with Everton to play and Arsenal to play. And I think they'd break the record and not even get double digits, because I do think Everton are going to win this one. But Southampton parked the bus against Man City, got that 0-0 draw, and let Derby's record survive. Thank God. But I think Everton are going to win this one. I know there's been some games where it's been the last game at their ground where you've seen a lot of goals. It's just been basically hell for leather, for lack of a better word, and it would be super high scoring. I don't think that actually happens here. I think Southampton are going to try and not get embarrassed. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Everton, which is a good result. It's just not the barnstorming performance you might want to see in your finale fixture. But I'll say 2-0 to Everton, and the tip will be Everton to win and under 2.5 goals. No, under 3.5 goals, my word, at 2.05. I think that's pretty likely. The only way it doesn't happen is if Everton win 4-0, 3-1, or if it's a 2-2 draw, and I don't see that. Maybe it is just going to be 5-3 or something mental, and I'd love to see it, to be honest, but for the purpose of this prediction, I'm going to say 2-0. After this, it's West Ham up against Nottingham Forest. West Ham getting their first victory at Old Trafford in donkey's years. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been decades, I'm pretty sure. Nottingham Forest dropping points to Leicester. Nottingham Forest dropping points the week before that to Crystal Palace. They are faltering a little bit in the race for Champions League. Hopefully they win this game, and then it's a shootout between them and Chelsea on the final day as to who gets Champions League football, because in theory by then I'd imagine Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City and Newcastle will have secured it. Maybe Aston Villa can go for a push. It should go down to the last day for Champions League, and that is very exciting. So I'm going to go for a Nottingham Forest win here, 2-1. However, I could absolutely see this being a 1-1 draw, a 2-2 draw. So the tip is going to be Nottingham Forest double chance and both teams to score at 2.3. Because although last game West Ham had nothing to play for, they did have the chance to go above United and Spurs, and everyone at Old Trafford brings it up a level. I feel like that in and of itself is something to play for, is a win at Old Trafford. This is slightly different. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Forest. Nottingham Forest double chance of both teams to score, as I said, at 2.3. After this is Brentford up against Fulham. Now, depending, I don't quite know the stipulations, depending on maybe the FA Cup final, which I suppose I could predict in this video. Actually, I haven't written it down, but I could do a little prediction on the fly. Whether it's the FA Cup final or other things, there might be a Europa Conference League spot for 8th place. And Brentford are in pole position to get that. And I think a victory against Fulham here could help them do that, because Brentford got the win they need to last week against Ipswich. The week before, they got the win they needed to against Man United. I don't see Fulham being much of a heavier task, I guess you could say. So I'm going to say Brentford to win 2-1. However, in case we see a random Fulham away win, my tip is going to be both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.83. After this, it is a championship matchup for the 25-26 season. It's Leicester up against Ipswich. I think there's going to be a lot of goals here. I think Leicester are probably the favourites, in my opinion. I don't even know the odds, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. The tip is both teams to score at 1.61. Wouldn't surprise me if Leicester win this one, but we'll say 2-2. After this, it's Arsenal up against Newcastle. Please, Arsenal, don't lose this game. Imagine Arsenal lose to Newcastle and Southampton and drop out of the top 5. It's possible. How insane would that be? Would Arteta get sacked if that happened? Because ultimately, I mean, yeah, that's bad. That's bad if Arsenal don't get into the Champions League next season. I mean, it's not going to happen in my opinion. I've seen a lot of people predicting Newcastle to win. Arsenal are the odds-on favourites, so my tip is going to be slightly with Newcastle and slightly contrary to my score prediction. I think this is kind of everything for Arsenal now. Even though the season is over, they've got to put a performance on here and beat Newcastle, because their recent record against them is abysmal. So I'm going to say Arsenal win 2-1, but you never know. It was a spirited comeback against Liverpool, but it's going to be tough. I'll say 2-1, but the tip is going to be Newcastle +2 and both teams to score at 2. So that's both teams to score and Arsenal not to win by 2 or more goals. And I think that's pretty likely. I think we could see a score draw. If Newcastle win and both teams to score, this tip comes in. But I've got to try and keep Arsenal onside somehow. So we're going Newcastle +2. After this, it's Brighton up against Liverpool. Liverpool, again, nothing really to play for. But I'm just going to say that they actually do get the win here. They are slight favourites. I could see this being 2-2. I could see this being a Brighton 2-1 win. I'm going to say 2-1 to Liverpool. I thought about Liverpool to win at 2.45 as a tip, but I'm going to go a little bit safer and say both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.61. That allows for so many of the most likely outcomes in this game. After this, it's Crystal Palace up against Wolves. This is being played after the FA Cup final, which I guess I'll touch on later on. I think whether Crystal Palace win the FA Cup, I mean, if they win the FA Cup, maybe they falter a little bit in this game. I don't think they're going to win the FA Cup. You just got to go with the favourites, really. So I'm going to say Crystal Palace win this one, though, 2-1. And the tip is Palace to win at 2.25. It's difficult to call this game with the FA Cup happening beforehand, but I'll say Crystal Palace to win 2-1. And the final game of the game week, fun fact for you, the last 2 final games of the game week in the Premier League prediction show, I have correctly predicted a score draw. 1-1 between Palace and Forest, 2-2 between Liverpool and Arsenal. I'm not going to do it for this one. I think this is going to be a pretty ugly game, actually. You hear Man City at home against a team like Bournemouth. You think there's going to be goals. I'm going against the grain. I'm going to say Man City win 1-0. And the tip is Man City to win and under 4.5 goals at evens. That I initially thought I'd have to go to 3.5 goals to find value, but under 4.5 goals, that allows for a 4-0 battering. That allows for a 3-1. I'm going to say 1-0 Man City and under 4.5 goals. So the FA Cup final, it is Crystal Palace up against Manchester City. This, in my head, goes one of 2 ways, and both of which are a 1-goal victory for Man City. It could be drab, cagey, physical, not clinical, it could be a 1-0 or it could be a 2-1. For the interest of the neutral and goals, I'll say 2-1 to Manchester City. But I could absolutely see it being 1-0. I could see it being 2-0. It depends how Crystal Palace start. I think if it's a draw at halftime, Palace have a chance. I think Palace need to stay in the game as much as possible. But I could see Man City scoring between 30 minutes and halftime. And maybe that just taking the wind out of Crystal Palace's wings, shall we say. So I'm going to say Man City win 2-1. And I like the odds. Man City to win in the full 90 minutes, 1.75. Which sees Liverpool win the league, Newcastle win a cup, Man City win a cup, one of Man United and Spurs win a cup, most likely Chelsea win a cup, and Arsenal sat holding the bag. Let me know your predictions for the penultimate week of the Premier League as well as the FA Cup final in the comments. That is going to do it from me. Subscribe so you don't miss the finale videos of the Serie A and La Liga series as well. Of course, the Champions League final too. And I'll see you in the next video very soon.